Okay, so ready to kick off for today. So thanks for joining us, everybody. I think we've almost got most people in at this point. So my name is Yolande. I will be the host for today's webinar. I've also got Shadi on the line here as well. So we'll get to introductions in just a minute. I thought we'd just kick off firstly with a little bit of housekeeping. So you'll notice as you've dialed in, your camera and your microphones are turned off. Please leave those off. It just saves for bandwidth as we run through the webinar. You will have the ability to ask questions, so you can just pop questions in the chat box, and if you direct those to myself, and again, my name's Yolande, and towards the end, we'll be able to answer any of those questions that have come through. So just to introduce myself, so my name is Yolande. I am a business development specialist here at TOKN Technology. So I've got a bit of a background in technology, tech startups, and have been in the software world or SaaS world for quite some time now. So kind of new to TOKN, but lots of experience to kind of share from my background. The title of today's webinar is Modernizing METS with Digital Technology. And I've got Shadi here, who's a bit more of an industry expert on the line as well, who's going to be taking us through a little bit of his knowledge around this topic. So over to you, Shadi.
Hi, thank you, Yolande. Hello and welcome, everyone. Nice to have you with us. Yeah, this is quite a passionate topic where, myself, I'm always interested in that change. So I'm one of the directors here at AlphaBiz Solutions. We're predominantly an ERP implementer, and ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And effectively, it's about consolidating all your systems onto one platform. So whether that's a multi-company, multi-branch, or one company that has many departments within its business, it's all about consolidating that onto a central platform. So with that comes a lot of other work. There's integrating systems together. There's integrating your system with other trading partners' systems. So there's that digital communications between companies. And then also bespoke applications. And a big part of our business is also around writing business intelligence reports that, you're storing all this, important data. It's about, extracting and making meaningful information out of that data set. So today's topic is, it's around METS, the Mining Equipment Technology Services. And we want to focus it around the mid-market SME businesses. So what is a mid-market SME business? It's a mature, small to medium-sized business. One that would have, over 20 employees, that's been around the market for a while, say 10 plus years, and, have embedded systems already in place. Or they could be a fast growing business that has reached that stage where now they've got to look at consolidating their solutions. And digital technology in itself is a broad topic. So it's not about the technology for one. It's about bringing the transformation in your business. So it brings that, or empowers your people in providing greater value for your organization. So what I'll do, I'll get started on what are the emerging technologies. Actually, it's not even emerging, they're here now. But before we get into that, I wanted to go back on what has happened. We've been around for 11 plus years. And I wanted to give you my take on what has been happening in this sector in the last 10 years. So we know where things are moving forward in the next 5 to 10 years, or what's actually happening now. That, if we look back at 2010, it was the big buzzword was around cloud computing, cloud solutions, moving your systems to the cloud. And now in 2020, that's almost like the norm. It's an absolute given that, people now expect that their solutions will be in the cloud. And if they're running legacy systems, they've got the technology to host it in a data center or cloud it in some way or manner. And so if you look at the technology that's emerging now, You know, the first one, you know, we all hear about automation, robotics, and operational hardware. We see that happening quite rapidly. There are going to be systems and machinery that are going to be easily accessible in the next, you know, 2 to 5 years. I think if anything, the pandemic itself has fast-tracked, you know, how quickly you know, we're going to take on these new technologies. I mean, I always tell people that if you look at sort of the technology that develops, you know, on a global scale, we see more changes happening, you know, say in the last 5 years than what we've seen in the last 50. And things seem to be happening a lot quicker now due to the conditions we're experiencing. The other emerging technology is next generation analytics and decision making. What does that mean? It's all about artificial intelligence, machine learning. You know, you're collecting these large data sets. Now there's going to be solutions that are going to interpret that information and be able to make predictions for you, so you can make the right and informed decisions based on that analysis. The third one, integrated enterprise platform. This is the one area that we're going to be focusing on today. When we get Yolande to take over and talk about more about platform technologies and what TOKN can do, this is certainly the area. It's about connecting your system, your ERP, your platforms to mobile solutions, sort of to have that, you know, immediate tech connectivity with your people. And then finally, I mean, this has now been happening in the last, you know, 18 to 24 months. It is being now with our smartphones, our computers, our smart computers or powerful computers in our pockets. We're able to give, you know, effective tools by enabling the workforce. So they're actually the third and fourth point. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about today when we talk about modernizing the METS sector. Okay, so now with that, there always comes challenges, right? I mentioned that, you know, we've seen a lot of change happen with technology, and that's certainly the one of the high points is that sometimes it can be overwhelming for businesses to know what should they be doing, you know, what's emerging, what should they invest their time and money in that is going to work for them. And certainly platform technologies are the way to go. Now, you know, a lot of the companies that I speak to, they've got their ERP system, they've got their platforms. Now it's about sort of creating more efficient workflows, giving those tools to their employees that are working out in the remote areas, or just to have that immediate connectivity. So normally it can be overwhelming for businesses to know, you know, what are the right tools, what are the right platforms to go with. The other area is startups. You know, as we know, startups are they're quite agile, and, you know, they're always coming up with new ways to sort of, you know, do us out of business. You know, I always say, I use the term, you know, they're slapping at our heels, trying to figure out how to eat our lunch money. You know, so how can we, you know, with these efficient workflows and being able to provide better services to our customers, how can we outdo or compete at an agile level with startup companies? Again, platform technologies allow you to do this, because then you're not using multiple systems to manage your operation. You can clearly use one platform that will do things like your time sheeting, your plods, your approval processes, or even the company itself being able to broadcast out to your team. The younger workforce. You know, we have millennials now that are moving into buying decisions or buying decision roles, and you know, with they're more willing to work with companies that are in their way of thinking or that can keep up at their pace. So that's another challenge that we certainly see. We've got, if if you've got that younger workforce working for the sort of incumbent mining operators, yes, when they're out there sourcing the work or tendering or bidding for the work, yeah, how efficient are you on your digital front? There's the economy. Nothing much we can do there. We're really at the mercy of our political leaders as they play these trade wars or trade deals, and also the incumbents that influence them. You know, and the reason I bring this up again, I look at, you know, your platform technologies, your digital solutions. If you're getting that immediate information by the workforce that are collecting that information, it allows you to sort of be able to adjust or being able to figure out, you know, what areas you should be focusing on to sort of adjust to the economical changes. There's a remoteness aspect, you know, with harsh and challenging environments. It makes it extremely difficult on the people that are working there and the equipment. So the technology is now available that, you know, our devices can work offline. So no longer relying or no longer having that delay for waiting for people to be within range or have access to sort of report back to the head office. And Australians in general, we tend to be risk averse. So we don't like jumping into, you know, investments or technological changes unless there's absolute certainty that there's going to be a benefit. The issue that I see with that is that sometimes that can create a health and safety risk to your people if you're still using outdated practices within your organization. And if that wasn't enough, there's the running of your business. You know, that, you know, yes, we have, you know, the HR issues, we have the sales and marketing issues. So how can we address those by giving the right tools to help our people do their jobs more efficiently? So how do we approach this? So, you know, we've been doing ERP systems or implemented systems for a long time. And, you know, typically there's normally 3 factors that influence someone to go in and you know, start investigating that it's time now to make that change, you know. But the center point to any change is really the business and the platform they use. And it's all about that one truth. And to be able to have a truly single source solution, there are normally 3 factors. The companies that I've gone and spoken to, or business leaders that I've gone out there when we've done our consulting, it's always, you know, 90% of the time, 3 main reasons why they're looking for that change. The first one is the control. They want better control within their business and do away or minimize the number of variables that can happen as they run their business. There's the insight. You know, we talked about collecting information, but being able to report and have that immediacy. And then there's that performance. So, you know, yeah, you know, having the right tools so your people can do their work quite efficiently. So if you look at the top area, you know, so when we break it out, if I just click the next piece, there's the functionality aspect. So we call these levers that, you know, with control and insight, it's all about building functionality with your solutions. So within center of your business, I talked about the ERP or your central platform. One thing about or platform technologies now, these mobile devices, they're able to provide a nice functionality, and it's all about you know minimizing the friction that goes on within your business to a flowing solution. So, like I mentioned earlier, you know, being able to create a job in the system, and then your workers see that job immediately, knowing that they have to put in their times. You know, that time is captured back, so you have better control in forecasting and billing on those jobs. Because we know that, you know, running a business, you know, with friction comes a lot of frustration. So when we're able to workflow and, you know, build that design off the back of a ERP product, it solves a lot of problems. And around this, there are normally stages that occur. Like, when you bring a consultant in, it's about, working through that discovery. We know what the functionalities of a solution can offer, setting best practice benchmarks, whether that's a legislative or an industry health and safety benchmarking, and being able to have a certified configuration team that is able to design the system the way your business operates. So that's around the functionality of your solution. On the control and performance side, you've got the adoption. So that's all about your people. We know, doing ERP systems for a long time, we know what goes hand in hand with any business change or system change is the resistance to change. People don't have a problem of, putting systems or rules on other people, but when it's put onto themselves, there's the reluctance. It's just our human nature. So, once the system is configured, there's a method of building out the training and validations and how we cut over the system to minimize any resistance and have a more of an acceptance type strategy in that change management. And then once you have performance, once you have insights, once you have that immediate information, you really then have oversight of your system. And this is about, minimizing any exposure and having a more secured operating business. Exposure could be those cost leakages that happen, potential internal fraud, so all those areas that are normally, that can occur, but with a tightly controlled solution, excuse me, we can have a more secured system. And it's important to focus or emphasize the fact that with all this, and when I hand this over now to Yolande, we're not talking about a sort of you're throwing your system out and implement it with a completely new system. These are about, these are about incremental improvements. And I want to focus on the word improvement because that's all we're doing here, is that with a platform technology, you can implement these controls in stages and then have a clear pathway to how you implement on a solution, and then therefore hopefully get to a stage where you are either keeping up with the trends or you're an industry expert based on your systems. So that's just a high overview of sort of a snapshot of what's typically involved or the benefits that can occur when you implement a platform technology. So I want to hand it over now to Yolande of how, her solution is a good way of leveraging that without having to do a complete overhaul of your current system or your legacy solution. So Yolande, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Shadi. Thanks for that. Super insightful. So I guess I wanted to sort of come in and give you guys a high-level overview of exactly what platform technologies are and how they can potentially help your business. So first off, I thought it would be good to start off with a bit of a definition. So, Shadi, you were talking earlier a bit about emerging technologies and, what's out there and how do we know what to use? And, there's so much happening in such a short space of time. How do we sort of keep on top of a lot of that stuff? So I wanted to start with a definition. Some of you might already know what platforms are, but this might just give you a nice holistic overview of exactly what it is that a platform is and what it does. So this particular definition I've got here is stating that an integration platform as a service is essentially a cloud-based service that usually can connect to data through a particular endpoint, predominantly, API-based. It can then use that data to essentially spin up any kind of workflow and send that data back to a certain endpoint. So usually this type of technology is used for enterprise businesses where they don't want to overhaul all of their existing technology, and they really just want to look at a way of being able to connect to that technology, use it and send information sort of back through our platform. So that's sort of a high level, I guess, definition of what an integration platform is. Sometimes it's actually easier to visualize. So next slide there, Shadi, for me. So this is a nice little illustration, and this helps to really sort of understand exactly how this system works. So you can see in the middle there, we've got the TOKN platform. So essentially that platform allows us to connect into back-end systems. As you'll see there on the left, we've got a number of different types of systems. So we've sort of mentioned there SAP, IFS, Oracle, SQL Server, but we can connect to essentially any technology that has really an open API or to a database. So we've connected into multiple different systems. MYOB Advanced is a really common one that we connect into quite often. We've connected into Xero and a multitude of others. I'll take you through an example today of a client we were able to help within the mining industry, and we integrated into their Greentree ERP system. So there's quite an array of systems we can connect into, but the point really is to be able to connect into those systems and bring that data into our platform. Once we've got that data in our platform, we can then use that data to build out workflows and then deploy those workflows onto a desktop or mobile application. And the point there is that you're making the data accessible to a team of people that may not have access to it right now. So i.e. a mobile workforce, so people out in the field that can't get access to a computer and need to be able to access a system or process a particular workflow and need that information to send back into your ERP or back-end system. And then you'll see there that we've got the other reason why it's sort of really quite popular with that mobile workforce and particularly within the mining industry is that offline capability. So Shadi mentioned earlier, having the ability to be offline when you're dealing with mining clients. They're often working in areas that are quite remote, that don't have consistent or constant mobile reception, but they still need to be able to have access, to the system, even if they're outside of a mobile reception area. So they can still process their workflows, and as soon as they get connection, again, that information is sort of sent back through our platform, into the relevant back-end system. So that's kind of the idea of how our platform works. So it is an integration platform, but also a low-code platform. So we're able to deploy mobile and desktop applications really quickly. So we use different types of templates that we've already got within our platform, along with our own bespoke technology to be able to deploy mobile and desktop applications really quickly. We primarily work within a number of different industries. You'll see that we've got mining, construction, maintenance, HR. We've also got different industries like, aged care and things like that. And the thing that all of these industries have in common is they typically have a mobile workforce, so people who aren't tied up to a computer or out in the field, but still need to be able to access back-end systems and they need to have a real ability to be able to be mobile while in that field. Outside of that, the platform has another piece of technology which is kind of sits in that IoT space. So more to kind of come on what we're doing there, but at a really high level right now, we're sort of looking at sensor data and being able to pick up sensor data and send that information also back to a relevant system and or house it in our platform and create a workflow off that data. So as an example, it might be that there is a geolocation on your mobile device and we're able to access that location and then use that data to build into a workflow as an example. So it's multi-capability type platform, but at a very high level, an integration platform as a service. So next slide for me, Shadi. So I guess the question is, why do people tend to use platforms? You know, what is all the fuss about? You know, if people have already spent a lot of money on their existing systems, you know, why are they now sort of looking to a platform to assist them? So usually the problem arises when a company needs somebody to access their system and they don't have a way to essentially connect into it. So the current methods of being able to connect are really quite challenging. So they can't find a current solution that works. It's really expensive to develop an app for one particular solution. They've got lots of restrictions around their hardware. They might have multiple systems that they're wanting to connect together. They've got issues with their workforce sort of being, you know, offline, and then security issues as well. So the platform kind of takes away a lot of that pain for businesses and helps them to easily connect if they've got multiple systems. It helps them to connect those systems and deploy them out to their workforce in a safe and secure way, whether they be within, you know, a troubling area as far as reception and connectivity is concerned. And it also brings in other pieces of technology and allows them to access live data through that platform as well. So next slide for me, Shadi. So I wanted to kind of give you a bit of an example here. So we work within, as I said, the mining and mining services industry. One of our clients that we've worked with for quite some time now is METS Group. So METS is a mining maintenance services provider. So they essentially have a really large mobile workforce that work out in quite remote areas, usually quite harsh environments, and they basically work on maintaining and fixing you know, mobile and fixed equipment. So one of the troubles that they were having was they were really looking at ways to digitize a lot of their business. They had a very heavy reliance on paper-based processes and were having real issues with data collection and getting payroll through on time because of that data collection issue. So they came to us to look to help them with a solution to be able to digitize that process for them and essentially get their payroll sort of happening on time. So we ended up developing a number of different solutions for these guys. So one of them was a timesheeting solution. So they had a team of people looking after their timesheets alone. So the standard process was that somebody would have a piece of paper that they would fill out their details on, get a supervisor to sign off on that timesheet. That timesheet would then end up in a back office tray where an admin person would have to then input that into the system, and then they could essentially run their payroll. So that's a real multi-touch, manual, paper-based process. So they were looking at a way to digitize that process and really bring down that lead time. But they also wanted that information to be sent straight into their payroll system. So essentially we developed a timesheeting solution for them for that. And that was sort of one of the first things that they developed with us, and sort of started to build in a holistic solution with us over time. So you can see the uptake there of the users over that time. And that's purely based on the fact that we got the timesheeting solution in there that was working really well. One of the other problems that they were having was issues with safety. So they had paper-based forms for all of their safety forms. Now, having a paper-based system when it comes to safety doesn't give you any access to any live data. So if there's an issue on site and somebody's noticed a hazard, as an example, there's no way to find that information out unless you're physically having a conversation with that person. So we essentially digitized a number of different safety applications for them as well. So that's everything from, you know, JHAs, you know, hazard reporting, and a number of others, fatigue assessments and things like that. So we were able to build that also into their application. So now all of a sudden they went from having one issue with and sort of coming to us to help solve that with a time sheeting issue. And then we sort of built out this safety part of their application as well. So now it's becoming sort of a one-stop shop for their mobile workforce to be able to log into this app and complete not one, but a number of different business functions while they're in there. Over time, we ended up building out an intranet page for them as well. So they noticed that people weren't really logging onto the computer and checking their intranet page. So they had all this handy information about what was happening in the company, all of their HR information about different events that were going on and how the company was sort of bringing people together. But nobody was actually ever seeing that because it was on a web browser that nobody was logging into. So they ended up housing that within the application as well. So as soon as their workforce log into the application, they've got their intranet page. They can see what's happening in the company. In that same place, they can process their timesheets. They can fill out all of their safety forms, any pre-start information they need to fill out as well. And it's all housed in that one particular place. And then TOKN kind of takes care of the back end of that. So we push all of that data into relevant systems. Their safety data is housed in our TOKN platform. So they can go into our platform at any time and see all of their safety forms. We can also set up, and we have set up live alerts for them as well for any of that safety information going in there. And then all of the other information that needs to go to their relevant backend systems do. So we're pushing into MYOB Greentree in this case, and that's what we've integrated into. And that information goes there and then handles, that business process on that end from there. So that's just kind of one example of how we were able to help these guys. And really the real benefits here for them were they've measured about a 25% productivity increase over time. So that's quite a huge productivity increase, and saved about 11,000 hours a year in admin time. So you can really see how by digitizing this process, not only have they made it simpler for the business and be able to now process their payroll on time and, are handling their safety issues, in a more modernized way, in a way that is, easier to be able to identify an issue when it's happening. Outside of that, there's huge productivity gains for the company as well, and huge savings that were had here. So, that's just one example of I guess, a mining company that we've sort of worked with and helped them digitize their process, where they do have that mobile workforce that's out in the field with no access to computers there as well. So next slide for me, Shadi. So I wanted to kind of leave you with this. So this is I guess a map that looks at the growth rate by region for integration platforms as a service. And the reason I kind of wanted to pop this here is because while this is sort of, a new topic and people are sort of wanting to find out about it a bit more now and wanting to see what kind of benefits are provided by an integration platform, we are really, as you can see, in a high growth rate region for integration platforms over the next 5 years. So if 2020 has taught us anything with everything that's gone on, is that, being able to be connected to a business, even when you're not physically present, is really important. And being able to have access to back-end systems is really important. So it's really a topic of discussion for a lot of businesses now. And if it's not a topic of discussion within your business now, it probably will be, in the next sort of 5 years. So definitely something to keep your ear on. We are obviously seeing quite a, uptake in interest around our platform technology and how businesses can leverage their existing technology without having to overhaul all of their systems, use that technology to digitize their current processes and modernize their current processes as well, so that their workforce have access to those systems. And to Shadi's point a little bit earlier about that younger workforce, so the age of employees and people within, important roles now are people who have generally grown up with technology. So them having mobile access to a particular system is almost seems like second nature to a lot of these people. So it's important that they have access to systems that they can use and understand, and technology that they can use and understand, and that's easily accessible as well. Over to you, Shadi.
Lovely. No, that was great, Yolande. Thanks for showing us, going through that with us. Guys, thank you for sticking around. I'm just going to summarize what we covered today. I know we went through quite a bit, but very high level, because we wanted to make this a short webinar. But just to recap on what we covered today, we looked at, the different types of emerging technologies, and we focused those on the integrated systems or the digital enabled workforce, which TOKN seems to do quite well as a platform, as a service. We went through what are the common challenges. I covered quite a bit of challenges all around, but I think when you look at from the technology side, like I mentioned earlier, it can be a little bit overwhelming on what is the direction, what is the right product or when is the right time. But when you've got solutions like TOKN, that they are a small footprint, and they can be implemented in stages, so you can dip your feet in and see how they work and the benefits that can be gained. I went through a high-level view of the approach that one takes normally when we're going through the transformation, and it's all about all in piecemeal. So it's all about a continual improvement, but having a team there that will help you with that improvement. Yolande explained what exactly a platform technology is and what it does. So that was good to hear it from her end. So that with the technology that's already available, these solutions can add a lot of benefits to your business. She went through how TOKN works, from how it connects to your legacy or your ERP product to right through to the end users on the mobile front. That was a really insightful case study of Mater, hearing about that 25% productivity and saving, what was it, 11,000 hours. I mean, that's massive. That is really massive. And of course, I would imagine this would have been a long journey. And as you saw in that diagram, it was done in stages. Like they started off with 100 or so employees or people, and then grew it to the rest of the team. And we saw that platform technology adoption rate, which is no surprise. If anything, the technology is already there. We've got the emerging workforce that, just like Yolande and I myself mentioned, they just expect to have that mobile connectivity or the apps available to do their business. It's, to them, it's absurd almost to go in there and to work on a paper-based solution. So that's wraps up for us. Yolande, do you want to just, guys, do you have any questions, or if are there any questions that have been posted that we can answer before we wrap this up? Because we've gone over 10 minutes. We were supposed to do this in half an hour, but that's fine.
Yeah,
what do you have there, Yolande?
Yes, I've got a couple of questions here in the chat box. So the very first one that came through said, how do you suggest organizations go about selecting the right tech stack? There are so many solutions solving the same kind of problem. How do we know which one to use? Did you want to answer that one, Shadi, or did you want me to answer that one?
No, go for it. I think that's more your field, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've obviously come from a bit of a background in different technology, and I understand the landscape of all of these different applications, a lot of them claiming to solve, the same problem. And how do you make that decision about, what to select? So there are a couple of things I would say to keep in mind. The first is, when you go into looking at what technology solutions you want to be selecting, you need to go in with what are your key deliverables? What exactly you're looking to change, and how exactly are you planning to, implement that into your business? So I've seen a lot of businesses kind of go in and overhaul 3 to 5 pieces of technology at the same time. I think that can cause a little bit of an issue, and adoption within the business might be quite hard. It's really about doing one piece of technology, at a time, and looking at what problem it is you're trying to solve, and solving that one particular problem. Where you've got, and we see this a lot, businesses who have already got a really large tech stack and don't want to overhaul that entire tech stack, that's where TOKN kind of comes into place. So we can kind of connect those existing systems that you've got, and create and spin up different workflows off the back of the data that we've already got coming out of those systems. So not to worry if you've already got a large selection of technology within your business, we can still work with that. But I would say that the key line there is, think about what problem you're trying to solve, and don't go into too many pieces of technology just based on their definition of what they do. Look for a problem you're trying to solve and you'll find the right technology that way. A good thing, obviously, always to do, Shadi, and a shout out here to businesses like yours, speak to the experts. They know what's what within your industry, and which pieces of technology work, and how best to go about implementing them, and how they'll work, interoperability between those pieces as well.
Great.
Cool. Awesome. And next question we had, and I think this one's a good one for you, Shadi. How do we manage the change of tech culturally? Tech can only help the whole team, can only help if the whole team or company come along on that journey.
Yeah. I think, well, not that I think, but it does really need to start from the top. So the message needs to come down, I believe, from the CEO, and filtered down right to the operations. So the CEO or the board need to have that vision or the direction where they want to take the company. And I strongly believe that digital transformation, like your branding, your core values, need to be part of your cultural DNA. Companies cannot, avoid or, put aside the importance of what the technology can provide to your business, especially if you want to be a leader or competitor in the METS industry. And again, you don't have to be, for the CEO out there, they don't have to be a lover of tech. They don't have to be full across all the terminology or know how it works from a development standpoint. But they do need to, appreciate the importance. So whether you have within your team a digital transformation officer or a team that is constantly working on that, and you've set KPIs, okay, this is where we expect to be over a certain period of time, because you've got to look at these as a marathon, not as a sprint. And I'm probably rambling on about too much because there's a lot to cover in this. It's not a fairly straightforward answer, but to sort of sum it up, yeah, it does need to come from the top. And then also you can bring in your external consultants, because they would have a model similar to the one that I went through earlier. There is a structure to how you go and evaluate your requirements, and then finding the right fit for what you're looking at changing over time. Does that? I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it does. It's a very comprehensive answer. So cool. And those were the only two sort of questions that we had there. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. So you can get in contact with myself or Shadi. If you just flick to the next slide there, Shadi, if you want to find out more about, any of the solutions that we provide and ways that we're able to help you, please do get in contact. We will send out a copy of this webinar to you as well. So if you want to share this with any of your team members, and you want to sort of get that topic going and that conversation going about modernizing your technology, then you can do that as well, and you'll be able to share that. Otherwise, again, thank you so much for joining us in the second part of this series, webinar series, and I hope this was insightful for you. And we hope to see you sort of on the next one.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Yolande.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shadi. See you guys.
All right.